My name is Jessie. I'm with Decker Truck Line. I've been with Decker since 2010 when we opened one of our terminal in Missoula, Montana. And I've been a recruiter for Decker for several years, moving into the communications department and helping make sure that our message about our company, our brand, and of course, helping you get to know what we have available here at Decker. So welcome. Thank you again for joining us. Mark, I'm going to give you the floor here. Would you mind introducing yourself? Mark is the director.
Mark Gleason, the Director of Operations for the Midwest Group here in Fort Dodge, Iowa, in charge of customer service, fleet managers, and the loading service at a shipper facility here at Fort Dodge in Sperry, Iowa. I've been with Decker Truck Line for going on 19 years and in the industry for 42 years. So been around for a while. That's my background.
Excellent. Tanya, go ahead.
So I've been with Decker going on 7 years. In August, I'll be here. I started out processing applications, doing background checks and things like that. I was Jessie's processor when she was recruiting. And then I moved over into recruiting about 5 years ago, just because I wanted a little bit more challenge. And I love working with drivers. My dad was a truck driver, so growing up with it, and my kid's dad's a truck driver, so I love working with the drivers and making sure that they're successful and happy.
Excellent. Awesome. Well, again, welcome. This is more about our Midwest Flatbed division, and that's why we have Mark here to kind of give us more of the day-to-day operations of this position. But before we dive into that, if you're not familiar with Decker, we've been around since 1931, so we have a little bit of history and quite a bit of stability. We've really set ourselves up for the long term and to continue throughout. But when it comes to the day-to-day operations, Mark, tell us about what this position entails.
So depending on where the driver would live, getting back to the house on the weekends especially, we aim for anybody who wants to do that to get through the house for a full 34-hour restart. We are very concentrated in Iowa to Minnesota, Wisconsin, Chicago area, Central Illinois, get into Michigan, Ohio. We go out to Nebraska, Omaha, Lincoln quite often, get up to Sioux Falls, Fargo occasionally, down to Kansas City, across St. Louis, or to Columbus area is our main operating area. We have a lot of what I would say preloaded trailers in the mix of our freight. Everything in Fort Dodge, we ship out of 3 gypsum mills here in Fort Dodge that are all preloaded. Driver's responsibility just to make sure all the securement's done, tarping's well, all bungeed up and good for transit. Use some steel products out of Chicago, some coils, mostly flat steel, coming back to Mason City. Shingles up in Minnesota, a couple different companies. Lumber up in Minnesota and Wisconsin. Mostly gypsum products, whether it be excuse me, board, excuse me, board or mud products, which is the joint compounds in buckets or pails. And that's about it as far as commodities and our general working area.
Excellent. Excellent. So, so building supplies and is more of the type of freight, but you said about what percentage, or do you have a percentage that would be preloaded trailers? It sounds like it's
quite high. Yeah, we have a couple of the main shippers we have are National Gypsum, United States Gypsum. Those are all preloaded. Again, just driver's responsibility to make sure it's done securely, properly before taking it off with the load. But on the loading side of it, I would say at least 85% is going to be preloaded. So the steel we buy, obviously the gypsum products are almost all preloaded. Just have to untarp and refold up the tarps that they're receiving in.
Excellent. Okay. Now, I know a question that I get often is especially with the economy the way it is what percentage of contracted freight are you? Are you a high percentage, or do you do a lot of brokerage freight? It sounds like most of it's contracted. Is that correct?
Yeah, majority is contracted. If we get into the outskirts like Southwest Missouri, for example, or maybe if you get out to Rapid City, you might get a broker load, but everything else is contracted in the Midwest. There's very, very little, probably 98% of it is contract.
That's excellent. Awesome. Love that. Shows the stability of the company. So that's fantastic. Now for the process itself, we do take on inexperienced drivers as long as you're a recent graduate of an approved school. Now, ideally, we're looking for experienced drivers, someone who has flatbed experience and kind of knows the way of the road there. But yes, we do train if you don't have that experience. We do have some in-house training following our orientation. But now, have you seen, is it more experienced drivers that seem to fit this position better, or is the training, does that pretty much cover everything for those who are brand new to the industry or maybe brand new to flatbed?
Just we have drivers come on board with dating experience. We have a gentleman coming out of the truck tomorrow that's been with a trainer for a couple of weeks, just wanting to familiarize himself with what we do, which is a good way to learn, especially with a trainer that's going to hit multiple shipping locations that we do and a couple steel loads just for practice. So it really doesn't matter if you're experienced or just starting off new. You're still going to run the same area and do the same things. So
excellent. Okay. And we'll talk about the qualifications here in just a sec. But before we dive into that, we do have incentives along the way. Not only do we have a quite impressive sign-on bonus, but we also have a weekly pay that's a minimum pay. So you know you're going to get that every single week, at least that minimum. Now, your rate of pay per mile can exceed that minimum pay, but how often would you say that you've got that minimum pay that you'll be seeing versus additional? I mean, looking at the average miles on a weekly basis.
average miles, I would say it's about a 60-40 split that's going to be compensated for the 1450 with the other 40% that are drivers, depending on where they live. Some guys would be out every 2 weeks, for example, would achieve more miles for the weekend. They might get bumped up on that. But we have drivers that, again, depending on where they live, and be able to hit some drop and hook situations to keep working for the weekend or grab that extra load throughout the week. That's going to bump up over the 1450.
Okay. Are most people getting home on a weekly basis for this position?
Yes, there.
Awesome. Coming home like a Friday night, Saturday morning, leaving back out
And
for
with the preloaded trailers and hours of service, and a lot of things that play into that. It's in the mix, probably 50-50, but it's going to be Friday night or Saturday morning. And again, your 34-hour restart, or if timing works out, you could have 48 hours. I mean, it's not a guarantee, and it would depend on where you live. If you're coming from Chicago to Omaha, for example, or Fort Dodge going to Wisconsin, and you're going through home for your weekend, you're pretty close to home, and it wouldn't take very much to deliver Monday morning. So it all depends on where they live.
What sounds like it's a good opportunity for those who need to get home for some time during the weekend, so they don't have to take their home time during the week. It sounds like it's good. Okay, excellent. Now, we talked a little bit about that 1450, that minimum pay. Now, there are qualifications in order to qualify for that position. Otherwise, you're going to get your rate of pay per mile. Now, the rate of pay per mile is based on your experience level. So if you specifically have a question on what your rate of pay per mile is, in the Q&A, that's an opportunity for you to go ahead and let us know your experience level, and then we'll be able to quote you an actual rate of pay per mile. So the more information you give us, the more specific we can be, which we all like immediate answers, right? Specific answers. So with the minimum qualifications, Tanya, why don't you tell us a little bit about what those are? For the
Um,
1450, I'm sorry, for the 1450.
the main thing is being available for dispatch for 5 days, having no load refusals, turning your paperwork in on time. You have until Tuesday at midnight to get it turned in, but they do prefer that you get it turned in right after you deliver. That way it doesn't get lost in the shuffle. Having no CSA violations and no preventable accidents. Once you meet all those qualifications, then you'll be able to get that 1450 minimum pay.
All right, so 6 simple minimum requirements in order to qualify for that. Now keep in mind though, with those 6 requirements, if you didn't meet one of them, say you I don't know, you didn't get your paperwork in on time, or you just didn't meet one of those. If that's the case, you're going to get the rate of pay per mile, which still could bump up to that 1450, sometimes even more. But making sure that you have that consistency, that 1450 is really what our goal is, to make sure that you know what to expect on a week-to-week basis, so you don't have these peaks and valleys like you often see within the trucking industry. So we're trying to make sure that you have that stability to go along with the position and home time that we're assuring you. So now, qualifications for the position itself. We talked about how we can train for the position, but what if I have a major moving violation, or what if I have a couple of tickets? Would that disqualify me? Can you kind of run through what those qualifications would look like?
With a major moving violation, that would have to be like any speeding tickets with 15 and over, careless driving, things like that. Those would have to be past 3 years old before we would be able to do an application. So those would disqualify you. Any sideswipe accidents, any rollover accidents, those would have to be past 5 years before we could do an application. So, I mean, we do take safety very seriously with Decker.
Excellent, excellent. Yeah, if you guys have a specific question on like hiring qualifications, if you have a specific question on like, is this ticket a disqualifier, please put it in the chat or raise your hand. You can even raise your hand. We'll be able to call on you and unmute you so that you can ask away. But that's what that Q&A section
I will
is
say
as
that
well.
with those major moving violations, it doesn't matter if it was in your personal vehicle or in your commercial motor vehicle, they still go against your driving record.
And so those have to be 3 years old in order to be eligible for
Yes.
hire. Okay, okay. So accidents, no more than how many, with if they're minor incidents, like they hit a mirror or a turning incident, what are those?
No more than 3 in 3 years.
More than 3 in 3 years. Okay. And then what about the tickets, moving violations? If I had a 5 over ticket or something like that?
Same, no more than 3 in 3 years.
Same. Okay. Let's see. All right. And I thought I saw a question here. I want to make sure that I come back to it. Katie, I don't see it. Can you go ahead and, oh, there you go.
Yeah, so Marshall is wondering 1 year tractor trailer experience and not any flatbed experience.
Here we go. Yeah. Go ahead, Tanya. I'm going to let you take the floor on that.
So if you have, with our Midwest Flatbed division, I mean, if you have experience, we can put you through load securement training, and then, which is just a couple of extra days during orientation, and then you can head out with your loads. What's that?
Okay.
And it would all depend, your rate per mile depends on your experience. So if you have a year of experience, that starts at 60 cents a mile, and then you get a penny increase at 90 days and a penny increase at your year. And then every year after that till you hit 70.
All right. And is your training for, I see the question now, is your training for CDL or company specific training? It is It is company specific. So you do have to have a valid Class A CDL before you even come to Decker. We do have a reimbursement program if you come directly from your school to Decker. It's up to $6,000. It does need to be an approved school, and it's a conversation you're going to want to have with the recruiter before you even come aboard. By the way, to speak to a recruiter following this webinar, you can call them at 877-233-2537. And actually, let's make it easy. Let's just put that as my background here. So 877-233 or 433-2537. Either one of those will get you there. But yes, it is specific to the company because we want to make sure that your securement, your tarping methods are reflective of ours. I know we have a little bit higher standard than a lot of companies, and which makes us one of those elite fleets. Here I'm going to do a little brag. Decker has been voted one of the top best fleets to drive for in 2023. Let's see, 2022, 2023, and 2024. This is year 3, so we're quite proud of that. And a part of that is not only being able to listen to our professional drivers here at Decker and grow from the suggestions that they provide us, but the input that they've given us has helped us definitely be an even better company than we've been in the past. And we've been quite impressive for the last 90 plus years. So yes, the company specific training, now Mark, correct me if I'm wrong, we do have our drivers who have recently gone through the securement training, or when they first come aboard in our Midwest Flatbed division, they do take photographs of the tarping and securement the first 30 days. Is that correct?
We look for 90 days of a live load scenario just to make sure that things are done properly. They send them to the dispatcher, fleet manager, and if there's any questions, we add the safety department on there, or the training department. And the training, when you come in for orientation, we have a building set aside for, I think there's 2 flatbed trailers with 5 different types of materials to practice on. And that's what the procurement training is for, is to look at different types of materials to make sure everybody's up to snuff before they take off.
Okay, so they'll have practice with the type of materials they'll actually be working with once they go live and are on their own.
Correct.
Excellent.
Yep.
Cool. During the training itself, they have someone demonstrate it before they do the hands-on, but they still get the hands-on, right?
Correct. Yes.
Cool. Excellent. So Johnny, thanks for that question as well. And Marshall, I think we covered you there. If you don't have that flatbed experience, then you'll get into that tarping and securement training following our orientation. So speaking of orientation, Tanya, it is a 3-day orientation for experienced drivers and a week long for.
I usually say about 3.5 for,
Okay.
by the time that they get their truck is about 3.5 days. But if they're staying for load securement training, it will be a full 5 days. Decker, while you're here, they take care of, the hotel takes care of breakfast. We take care of lunch and dinner. So you're covered there. But yeah, it's a pretty good setup for orientation. I mean, they transport you back and forth from the hotel to the terminal each day.
Excellent. So with Marshall having the question about the 1 year of tractor trailer, you're saying he'll have the 3 days of orientation as an experienced driver, but he'll have a week long because he'll have that securement, tarping and securement training on top of that. Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
And once he's passed the securement training, then he'll be assigned his truck and his first load and ready to hit the road.
All right, making some money. That's what you're here for to begin with, right? All right. And it's $500 for completing orientation?
Yes. And once they've, and if they've completed their online training before Monday for orientation, they get an extra $100 for getting that completed early.
Okay, so let's kind of back up here since you brought that up. We went over the qualifications for the position, making sure that you have the right amount of experience or have been a recent graduate of an approved school. You've met those requirements. We've ran your background, meaning your MVR and your work history. we're very thorough to do all of that ahead of time so that when you come aboard, you don't have any what ifs or, oh, just kidding, we found out something. You know, we want to make sure that we are prepared before you even get here. We definitely recognize that your time is important and we don't want to dismiss that. So before we even bring you aboard to orientation, you'll have all of that taken care of. And then we do an online orientation, physical drug test. Tell us more about that.
Prior to orientation and getting you your rental car to get here or your flight, we will do a new drug screen and a urine drug screen and a hair follicle test. And if your physical is 6 months or newer, we can use that physical. But if it's past 6 months old, then we'll have to get a new one, which is usually no big deal. And that way, all the results are back by the time that you get here for orientation, and you can leave a little bit earlier once you get assigned your truck. Normally for transportation, we either do a rental car or a flight. I prefer to do a rental car just because a driver can bring everything with them. You can't do that when you're on a flight. So, and then they can just leave right away and they're ready to hit the road and get their first load in. With a flight, then you'll have to be routed back home within the first couple of loads. And it's more convenient just to have everything with you at once.
Okay, so now that you brought that up, so flight, rental car, we cover the costs of that. Now, I do know that we've set up a repayment agreement if for some reason didn't end up being a good fit for you after 6 months or before the first 6 months, and you're like, you know what, I'm gonna, it's not gonna be a good fit for me. And then we do have that repayment agreement, and I know we knock $100 off every month, just in case. But that is part of the reason why we make sure that we're a good fit for you ahead of time. We don't want anything like that to fall back on you or the company. So we make sure that you are well educated in the position. And that's why both Mark and Tanya are here to answer your questions and make sure you know what you're coming into. You know what this opportunity is all about. So yes, excellent. Then we also have the online orientation is a combination of modules. You've got usually a video followed by a couple of questions, and you repeat that process as you go through each of those modules ahead of time before actually coming to orientation. And then when you arrive in orientation, when you arrive in your hotel, which we don't shack you up with anybody. These are solo rooms. You can unwind and just kind of have your own space in the evening once orientation is through. And like she said, you've got the transportation back and forth to the hotel, which is really only a couple of blocks from our Fort Dodge terminal. Anyways, and yes, it is in Fort Dodge, Iowa, the orientation itself. And once again, as an experienced driver, you're looking at a 3-day orientation. Unless you need the tarping and securement training, you're looking at a 5-day orientation if you're brand new to the industry and learning all the ropes. Orientation process itself is going to go through quite a bit. We use the TransFlow Geotab system in our truck. That's our communication. It has your hours of service in it, so you'll have your logs. Your communication back and forth to your driver manager is what I was referring to. You'll also have your fuel routing, and there are a lot of tutorials on there to help in case you if you don't know how to. We've got some tarping and securement trainings that are available. If you just need a reminder, you haven't had that load for a while and you're like, oh, I need to make sure that I know how to tarp that. Tanner is in our training department. He's actually taken the time to record some of those for us to walk you through it. We've got maintenance department has taken some time to tell you a little bit about troubleshooting if you have issues with your APU. By the way, let's talk about equipment before I get too far. Our equipment is something that we are known for. It's very well maintained. It's newer model. And this is one of my favorite things to talk about. So I'm going to take the wheel on this one because it's pretty much anything that you can ask. APU, refrigerator, microwaves, 22-inch television with Epic View satellite TV programming. That's company paid. We have CB units in the truck, which it's so funny to me how excited people are that they have CBs because so many people don't have them anymore. But it's nice to have when you're coming up to some of our shippers and receivers who do communicate through the CB units. And of course, when you're out on the road, and you need to communicate with somebody behind you that maybe there's an accident that they're going to be coming up on, slow down, be aware, road conditions. Those are all good things to have that CP unit. Our trucks are double bunk. They are mostly the 579 Peterbilts. We have a few 740 Volvos, a few Freightliner Evolutions, but the majority, over 95%, are the 579 Peterbilts. They are automatics. I should mention that as well. I think I mentioned inverters. We have all of the equipment for the Sirius radio. So if you want to have a subscription for that, you are more than welcome to use it. And then if you stream, we do have free Wi-Fi in the truck as well. So I know a lot of people are interested in streaming. If you have a podcast or a book that you listen to, that's definitely an option. What am I missing for? Oh, we have a lot of safety features as well, both inward and outward facing event recorders, part of our lytic system. And if you know much about some of those safety features that are out there, the lytic system can give you all kinds of options. Now, we didn't opt in for a live feed. We don't need a live feed. We need it for safety, you know. So if you had like a critical event following too close, erratic lane change, something like that, then it would trigger the inward facing event recorder. Other than that, the outward facing event recorder is of course on all the time for you. But yeah, we don't have a live feed for that. And what am I missing anything for equipment?
Not that I can think of. The only thing I can say is with the cameras that when you go off duty, you are able to cover that up. But when you go back on duty, it has to be uncovered. And then if you were to like get hit in the middle of the night, it will pop that camera on, especially the outward facing one, just to get the information if there was an accident in the middle of the night.
And actually, it turns off like that when your truck turns off. That inward one turns
Yeah,
off.
the inward one. Yep.
Yeah, but I know for peace of mind, a lot of people will cover just to have that comfort. I don't blame you. I'll just interweave summary for the first 20 minutes. Hi, Joy. Thanks for joining us. Yes, we're talking about our Midwest Flatbed division. We do take on experienced drivers as well as inexperienced. If you're inexperienced, you have a 5-day orientation versus a 3-day orientation. The Midwest Flatbed division runs a lot of Iowa. I mean, we'll expand it a little bit, but Iowa, Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, Wisconsin, Michigan, parts of Missouri. That's kind of a quick overview of where you'll be running, but it's tarping and securing with about 80%, 85%, I think Mark said, that is preloaded trailers.
Right.
All right, cool. So if you don't have securement training, we can train for that following your orientation. So there's no worries there. We pay $14.50 per week unless your rate of pay per mile and the miles that you run exceed that. Then of course you'll get the better of the two. And that $14.50 does require minimum qualifications for it. So you'll get your rate of pay per mile if you don't meet those qualifications, but they're pretty basic. I mean, being available for dispatch for 5 days. And I did want to come back to that actually. You do need to be available Monday through Friday. When it comes to flatbed, being available on the weekend doesn't get you any miles, doesn't do you any good. You need to be available Monday through Friday for that position. But being available for dispatch 5 days out of the week, no load refusals, no driver service failures, so no late loads, no driver service late loads, no CSA violations for the week, no preventable accidents for the week, and get your paperwork in on time. We talked about that TransFlow system, the TransFlow geotab, and you can just take a picture, get your paperwork in, make sure at least one page has a signature on it, and the rest, you want to make sure all those pages are in to the payroll department before Tuesday night at 10 in order to get paid Friday. So that's how the summary real quick, just spewing out at you there, Joy. So hopefully that answered your questions. We do have more though. We talked about some of the qualifications for the position, making sure that you don't have any DOT recordable accidents within the last 3 years or major moving violations in the last 3 years. Joy, if you have a specific ticket, moving violation or incident that you're concerned with, go ahead and put it into the Q&A so that we can ask about that. 10 years with a CDL. Thanks, Katie. Thank goodness she's there to, to make sure I don't miss anything. 10 years with having a Class A CDL, you would start off at 67 cents a mile. 10 cents of that 67 is per diem, so you're not taxed on 10 cents a mile, which will get you a little bit more take home on a weekly basis. But remember, your rate of pay per mile and the miles you run, if they don't exceed that 1450, you'll get the 1450. If they do exceed that 1450, you'll get the better of the two. So great question. Orientation, pretty much hit that. We hit equipment. What about the benefits? Tanya, can you kind of go over some of
After
those?
60 days, you're eligible for medical, dental, vision, and a 401k. The medical is through Blue Cross Blue Shield. Your vision is through Visas. The dental is through Delta Dental. And with the 401k, Decker matches up to 6% that you put in.
To what percent?
Isn't it 6%?
50% actually.
Oh,
50%. Okay. Yep. 50% up to 8% of your total income.
Oh, gotcha.
So yeah, yep. So that might have been the confusion, but yeah, we upped that maybe 2 years ago. I'm trying to remember how long ago. So we're pretty excited about that 50% match that we have available to you. You know, and after 60 days, it's not too bad. You've got, once you've completed orientation and you've been running out on the road for about 20 days, 21 days or so, then it's time to make sure that your paperwork is in for what benefits you want. And you get to choose, because there's like long-term, short-term insurance that you can choose from, critical illness, additional
the
life
long-term and
insurance.
short-term disabilities through Aflac, so it's pretty good.
Yeah, and I mean, you can really expand on that, which is nice. And honestly, what has been huge in this last, I don't know, 18 months is our prescription plans. We have, and huge kudos to our benefits department, because we had a prescription plan before, but then they improved it, and then they improved it again. You guys, it is a $0 copay on generics. $0 copay on generics, pretty much anywhere except for CVS and Walgreens. And better yet, if you have specialty or brand name prescriptions, you can get a lot of those, most of those, for $0 copay as well. We have a professional driver here at Decker. He's been here a while, and he saves $1,800 per month on one prescription. $1,800. That's a house payment or more for some of us. That's huge. And we weren't able to offer that 2 years ago, and a year and a half ago for some. So brand name specialty, those are ones that you would set up for mail order, and you can do 2 or 3 months in advance. So you don't have to do just 30 days or, one batch at a time. But again, all of that will be walked through with your benefits coordinator. Get everything set up by 21 days or so. That way, when your 60 days hits, you are covered. Medical, dental, vision, prescription, 401k, lots of other options. And what am I missing there for some of that? The the medical itself is an 80-20 plan through Blue Cross Blue Shield. So again, if you have specifics, let us know. I think I missed a comment Katie had just sent on over to me. Health insurance. Okay, so I think we covered that. Great question. If you have more questions on that health insurance, let me know. Besides just the paid health insurance, we also have an EAP program, which is our employment assistance program. And that's available to all of our professional drivers, all of our Decker family, and their extended. You can take advantage of that. It's got counseling. There's a ton of resources available, from estate planning to adult care to helping with adoption or divorce if you even go through that. I mean, there's a lot that you can dive into. Don't start looking elsewhere until you have looked over our EAP program for support, for assistance. And speaking of assistance and support, we have an art program it's a coaching program that we are very proud to have. We've had it for several years now. And Mark, Tanya, are either one of you guys ambassadors for that program?
I am, yes.
Would you mind telling us a little bit about it?
Okay. So when the driver gets assigned the truck and the fleet manager, they have a little one-on-one time on, forgive me, is it Wednesday or Tuesday? Anyway, they spend about 15 minutes discussing with the new driver and introducing themselves. And at the end of the week, when they get assigned a truck, they also will be received a ambassador, which I don't know how many we have within the company, quite a few, that will reach out periodically within the next probably 2 months, once a week at least for the first month. Just asking if you have questions, concerns, anything that we can help you with, other than what your fleet manager is already doing. But on top of that, if you just have questions or concerns, you'd rather get another person to speak to about it, that's where we come into play. We also have a driver professional on the road that would be assigned to you also with a driver's perspective. If you need to know how to secure a load, they could walk you through a couple steps if that would, depending on circumstances, that they could assist you too. So there's actually a couple people besides your fleet manager that are here to benefit your progress and hopefully make everything better.
Excellent. Yeah, support throughout. I mean, you've got, and then once you've completed with that art program, you can still reach out to them if you have questions or concerns. Plus, we have our 24/7 night ops. Well, we call it night ops, but it's after hours. We have our 24/7 roadside assistance. I mean, you are going to have the support you need when you're out on the road. You're not going to be flying by the seat of your pants or feeling like you're left stranded without answers. Plus, I mentioned our TransFlow geotab system. Part of that is a tutorial section or how to. So if you are struggling with trying to run something in the truck, and I say APU because that's usually what catches people off guard, we have instructions on how to fix that. We have instructions on the heating unit and the air conditioning. We have, there's just, even if you were, maybe you were dealing with a lot of frozen brakes or something like that, we have instructions on how to loosen those brakes. I mean, there's quite a bit of support throughout, some that you can reach out to an individual and some you don't even have to do that. Plus, we have a Facebook group that's been phenomenal for support from our professional drivers. And it's not actually our Facebook group. It's ran by our professional drivers who want to help others. And they'll help with not only locations, like, oh, hey, when you go to this location, this is a great route to make sure that you get around. This is where they told me to park. They have these type of facilities available. It's wonderful the way that they support each other.
Would like that too on the maintenance side of things, that in our running area, we have 4 company shops. Fort Dodge has a 2-shift company shop. Des Moines is 1 shift. Sperry, Iowa, which is down by Burlington, is there for 1 shift. And our Hammond, Indiana shop is there for a shift. So we do have 2 options with troubleshooting, getting routed into a shop for services. It's just pretty convenient having 4 within our running.
Yeah, that's a good point. We do have some phenomenal shops and techs at each of those locations as well. That also brings me to some of the incentives that we offer. We have a Take Pride in Your Ride campaign that was started by a lot of our professional drivers, or a couple of our professional drivers at least, and it encourages taking pride and having a clean truck inside as well, so that when you come aboard, or if what really started it is when some of our professional drivers had seen other trucks out on the road and they were really cluttered and just off-putting. And they had made the comment saying, it's nice to see a lot of our Decker drivers out there because you can tell that they take pride in their truck. And they had made those comments and they wanted to encourage it. So we have a program for that, which can get you into a $500 drawing, $500 gift card drawing, I should say, at the end of the year, every year. So we have that. We have quite a bit of incentives, but I do want to answer Johnny's question on the cost of insurance before I get too far so that you're not waiting anxiously for that. The cost of insurance does depend on a couple of things. Is it just going to be yourself covered? You and a spouse, you and children, you know, if it's going to be the whole family. Are you a tobacco user? Are you a non-tobacco user? So to give you an idea, low end is for just yourself. You're looking at $55 a week for insurance. Now, if you are having a whole family covered and maybe you're a tobacco user, it is higher for tobacco, then you're looking at $194. So that encompasses all of the different scenarios, and there's probably 16 different options depending on who all is covered and what your copays are. So yeah, I can send you more details on that benefits package, or you can ask for more specifics as well. Feel free to do that. But bouncing back to the incentives, we've got take pride in your ride. Clean inspections is another one. $50 for every clean inspection you get out on the road. So I know we have a lot of drivers who they absolutely love getting.
But we don't encourage
stuff.
you to go in there and ask for a DOT inspection.
Why not? If it, you know, we take good care of our equipment. You're doing a proper pre-trip. You've got all of that. Your hours of service are great. You know, why not? So additional incentives. We've got the rate of pay per mile. You've got your minimum pay per week, which is phenomenal. But we also have bonuses. We have 2 monthly bonuses. Why don't you break that down for us, Tanya?
Well, the main one is that we have our new sign-on bonus for this $14.50 minimum pay. It is now $8,000, and that is all paid out within your first year of employment. So we do request that you have a commitment with us for at least a year so you can get that $8,000.
So how does that pay out? Are you familiar with how it pays out?
I am not familiar how it pays out because it just started this week.
Okay, so it's $2,000 after you've been here for 90 days, another $2,000 after 180 days, and the $4,000 is on your 1-year anniversary. So that's where the final payout of the $8,000 total is 1 year. Yes.
And then there's an extra 5 cents per mile a month more that you can earn with performance-based bonuses. And those bonuses, it's 1,000-point scorecard. So you would, it's based off your miles that you drive, having no idle time, following all your fuel stops, no preventable accidents, no CSA violations. I know I'm missing a few.
On-time delivery.
On-time deliveries, claims, having no preventable claims, things like that. And that's all based on that. And also your safety score with having no camera violations or anything like that. You can get an extra cent that way too.
Yeah, and remember the camera we were talking about, that's our lytic system, part of our safety system. It's not just camera, but the inward facing recorder will actually kick on during a critical event. That's following too close, erratic lane change, speeding,
taking off your seatbelt going down the road.
Yeah,
it all activates it.
All triggers it. It'll trigger it. Otherwise, it isn't on there. Now, that said, I do know we have a couple of professional drivers. If they see something up ahead, they will push the button and make sure that it's recording. And the good reason for it is that it is to protect you in a court of law. And so sometimes they want to just play it safe and they'll push their button if they see something that's coming up, just so it's rolling and there's no question on their part. So yeah, safe driving, definitely a priority, making sure that you guys are safe out there on the road. Benefits, amenities. What else? Any other benefits that I might be missing? We do have a referral bonus. We have a very nice referral bonus, which in the last several years, we've had drivers who have earned upwards towards $11,000 in addition to their regular pay and their other bonuses, but $11,000 in referral bonuses alone. And now that we have upped our referral bonus to $2,000 per driver who you refer, who is hired on, obviously we expect to see even more. So
I love the
yeah, if you
referral
have,
bonus. I mean, it really
what's that?
gauges on how, I love the referral bonus. It really gauges on how well the driver likes the company, because they're not going to refer anybody unless they like their job and they like the things that are going on here. So they're not going to tell their friends or family, oh, come work for this place, if they don't like it.
Yeah, and it is a better, the individual who hires on, who's referred, usually has a better understanding of the company
Mhm.
overall. I mean, we do our best to make sure that you're well educated on the position that that is open to you. But having an individual who is doing the work that you're doing, who you can ask questions to or kind of bounce things, what if scenarios off of, is really nice. And you already have that built-in support system before you even start. So that
Yes.
is probably why referrals are so beneficial to us that way.
Mhm.
But all right, tarping and securing, that does pay as well. Remember, anything over and above the 1450, you'll get the better pay of the two, but otherwise it's all packed into that 1450 on the weekly basis. But why don't we talk about breakdown, detention, layover, what am I missing? And the tarping and securement pay. Tanya, why don't you go ahead and break that down? Or do
With the, go ahead.
with, yeah, so actually what I'll say is, again, the 1450, that's what your minimum pay is every week. But if your rate of pay per mile and all the additional incentives don't add up to that 1450, that's what you're getting, is that 1450. If they exceed it, you'll get the better of the two. That's our job, is to make sure that you're doing, if you are doing the work, you're getting paid for it. Tarping and securing, $25 to tarp, $25 to untarp. So you can get $50 a load there. Breakdown, you've got, starts at 24 hours, you got $100 for the first day, 150 for the second, 200 for 3 on up. And you know, one thing I should say too about breakdown is we like to keep you moving. You make more money moving, we make more money moving. I mean, it's, we don't want you having to sit with a breakdown. So if you do run into a breakdown where we know it's going to be a couple of days because maybe we're waiting for a part, instead of making you sit there, we often will get you into a temporary truck to keep you moving. And you want to take advantage of continuing to move, because not only it'll help your pay on the weekly basis, but you're not going to get antsy. And I know that most of our professional drivers out there on the road, you don't like to sit still. And I think that's all of us. When we know we could be doing something more, we don't like to sit idle. So take advantage of the fact that if there were an issue with your truck that we're taking care of, and we've said it before, our maintenance program is phenomenal. We do really take pride in making sure that our equipment is the highest out on the road, the highest quality. So if you're going out on the road and you have an issue with your truck and you have to come in to get it taken care of, and we know it's going to be a couple of days, they're probably going to offer you an opportunity to keep running. Take advantage of that. And again, that'll make sure that you're qualifying for that 1450 because you're being available for dispatch. And you're continuing to roll down the road. Have the opportunity to make more than that 1450 every week. Is there anything that I'm missing for incentives and pay? I know Katie works a lot with incentives. All right, now that makes me think. We have, within your first 6 months, if you are accident free, if you are CSA violation free,
Oh,
you also get a safety jacket. Yeah. Did she just say that?
No, I just, when she said that within the first 6 months, it clicked in my head, the safety jackets.
Yes, and those are, I love to see the drivers out with those, and they are quite proud of earning that safety jacket. It's a Decker safety jacket, and yes, absolutely love seeing that. Which kind of reminds me, we have a big to-do coming up on the 19th. This is our driver award ceremony, our Decker award ceremony, actually, because oops, let me throw in my water bottle. It includes quite a bit. Not only are we recognizing our driver of the months, our driver of the month is a combination of our safety and scorecard bonus that we talked about briefly. Tanya was telling you that could add up to an extra 5 cents a mile on all the miles that you ran for that previous month. So if you earn those on a regular basis and are one of the top earning scorecard and safety earners, then you're more likely to earn the Driver of the Month award. That is setting you up for Driver of the Year. So the Driver of the Month gets a $100 gift card plus a $50 gift card to the Decker store, so you can get yourself some merch. Get yourself a polo, like myself, or water bottles, or you can't see them, but they're I've got all kinds of stuff back here. But then you also go into the running for Driver of the Year. We have 5 driver of the years. The Midwest Refrigerated Van Division. We have our over-the-road refrigerated division. We have our Midwest Flatbed Division, our over-the-road flatbed division, and our owner-operator lease purchase division. So 5 different divisions that you can earn. Well, you're only going to be able to earn one because it's Midwest Flatbed, but we have 5 different winners, and they get a $3,000 Driver of the Year prize. So $3,000 for that. Now, from those 5 winners, earners, achievers, we choose, not we, it is chosen a grand champion. So the grand champion earns $15,000. Nothing to scoff about. I mean, that is an amazing achievement. Decals and jacket and all kinds of things to go along with that title. And that is a very prestigious title because your competition is fierce. You have some amazing professional drivers with many, many years of experience, but that doesn't mean that you can't earn it. One of our, was it in 2019, I believe, Alan came in, 16 months of experience, and earned that Driver of the Year title right away. So it just because they've been with the company or just because others have been with the company for so long doesn't mean you can't come in and take that title. So it's all about earning it. You can only earn Driver of the Month one time within the calendar year, but that's okay because it only takes one time in order to get into the running for the Driver of the Year. And again, the grand champion is chosen from there. So that's another huge award that we have. And then we have different one-offs here and there. Well, we like to run competitions and challenges that are fun for us. So stay on our communications, our Facebook and our YouTube and everything to stay part of that. Katie, am I missing any questions that have come in? I don't see any other ones. But
I think you're covering them as they come in. I don't see any more.
Okay, excellent. Mark, do you have anything else that you'd like to add?
No, I can't think of anything right offhand. No questions. I've covered everything that might come up.
Excellent. How about you, Tanya? Anything else?
No, I think we've covered just about everything, but definitely if they have any questions, let us know.
All right. Well, this telephone number right up here, 877-433-2537. It's actually 877-4-DECKER. You can get a hold of our recruiting department. Tanya's part of the recruiting department. Did I mention that? But so you can get a hold of our recruiting department, get your questions answered, and get qualified. You can also apply directly online at drivedecker.com, drivedecker.com, and fill out your application. Let's get the ball rolling. That $8,000 sign-on bonus is a temporary sign-on bonus, so we will not be doing that for too long. So if you want to take advantage of that, definitely get in the running there and get your application in. Let us know when you want to get started so that we can make sure that everything is ready. Orientation process will be set up for you, and we'll work off of your time frame on that as well. And other than that, I think we've covered all of. Oh, I think I might have missed one. I think I just saw it. Yep. Okay. There you go. It's Katie. 877-4-DECKER. We really appreciate you guys taking the time to join us today, and we look forward to working with you here in the future. So you have a wonderful rest of your day.